The word capital comes from the Latin term capitalis, meaning the head or the top. If we look at some of the world's capital cities, the choices seem obvious. Large, heavily populated areas, often near a harbor or in the center of the country. London, Madrid, and Tokyo are all such examples. Others, such as Washington, D.C. or Australia's Canberra, are less obvious choices. What leads a country to choose its capital city? The reasons vary wildly, with political, economic, and geographical factors all coming into play. Some are existing cities that win by vote, while others may be built completely from scratch. The history of capital cities stretches all the way back to the ancient world. Damascus, in Syria, is generally thought to be the oldest capital city, with its roots going back to at least the 3rd millennium BC. The bustling Middle Eastern city was a hub for trade and commerce, and it was also used as the capital for the mighty Umayyad Caliphate. The other ancient cities, such as Athens, Rome, Ankara, and Jerusalem, all became capitals after first becoming established urban centers. In these cases, it was simply a logical decision. The ancient capitals were located near ports or were safely tucked into the middle of their respective countries. From here, they grew and became increasingly important economic and political centers. Other ancient cities became capitals because it was seen as a new step forward in a different direction. For example, Ankara in Turkey had long been a strategic base for an endless stream of rulers. Ankara was a major city under Greek, Roman, Byzantine, Arab, and Ottoman empires. Even though Istanbul, then called Constantinople, was bigger and closer to Europe, Ankara was chosen as Turkey's capital because it symbolized a breakaway from its Ottoman past. It officially became the capital in 1923, after the Turkish War of Independence. Madrid in Spain has a similar story. For hundreds of years, it was a fairly nondescript city, with a relatively low population and no important government offices. That all changed when King Philip II decided to relocate the capital from Toledo to Madrid. While there was no official documentation explaining the move, it's easy to make an educated guess. First of all, Madrid was located smack dab in the middle of the Iberian Peninsula, which meant that any royals or people of importance would be relatively safe from foreign attacks if they lived there. Because Madrid was also in a central location, it meant infrastructure could be built around, connecting it with other regional centers. Moving capital cities for fresh starts has been a common theme around the world. In Japan, the emperor traditionally lived in modern-day Kyoto, which made Kyoto the capital. However, the Meiji Restoration in the late 19th century saw Japanese society undergo huge upheavals. The emperor once again became Japan's sole ruling entity, and the country broke away from its feudal past and opened up its doors to the world. To signify this new approach, the emperor moved the capital to Tokyo, or what was then called Edo. Geography has always been one of the main criteria in countries deciding on their capitals. Like Madrid, centrally located cities are popular, as are those located near the coast, with ports and harbors. Centrally located cities are regarded to be safer, as there is no risk of being invaded by sea. Additionally, these regions are often preferred because all citizens have equal access to the capital city. This was a major reason for Brazil deciding to move its capital from São Paulo to Brasília in 1960. São Paulo had been the capital since 1681, but Brazil was looking for a new location, central and fresh. Rio de Janeiro was seen as too big and too overcrowded, with too many economic and social problems for a capital. Therefore, Brasília was created, with work commencing in 1956, complete with bold new architecture, monuments, and parks. Similarly, in Pakistan, the capital was moved from coastal Karachi to inland Islamabad in 1967. Pakistan has also concerns that Karachi might be vulnerable to attacks from the ocean. Islamabad would not only be closer to more of the population, but it also would have a good chance for Pakistan to design a city specifically devoted to Islam. When India was still under colonial rule from England, the capital was shifted from Kolkata, then called Calcutta, to the northern city of New Delhi. Again, having a more centralized location was the main reason for relocating. Kolkata is one of India's easternmost cities, while New Delhi lies in the middle of northern India. The British were also nervous about the huge Muslim and Hindu divide in the Kolkata region, which eventually led it to being divided. Geography is also an important factor if the capital city is being created to appease a country's citizens. When America gained independence from Britain, the search began for an official new national capital. Both Northerners and Southerners wanted the capital to be in their respective regions, of course. Eventually, in 1790, the Residence Act was created to appease all parties. President George Washington himself chose the location, based on the Potomac River. The land used for the capital was taken from existing land in Virginia and Maryland, which made Washington a southern state, at least geographically. The idea was to keep the pro-slavery southern states happy because they worried that a northern-based capital would cede too much control to some of the pro-abolitionist northerners. Similarly, in Australia, where Canberra was chosen to be the new nation's capital, it was decided that the rivalry between the two biggest cities, Sydney and Melbourne, would create problems if one was made the capital over the other. So began the search for a new location, and Canberra was chosen for its milder weather and its location halfway between Sydney and Melbourne. Many tourists are still stunned when they arrive in Australia to discover that the capital is Canberra, with a population of about a tenth of its bigger cousins. Another former British colony, Canada, also had its capital city between two major regions. Queen Victoria decided that Ottawa would be the Canadian capital, as it was wedged in between the two most populous provinces of Canada, Ontario and Quebec. Some of the world's most famous capital cities were always destined to be their country's major city, however. Making London the capital of England was a straightforward decision, as it had always been the most economically important and densely populated British city. Ever since King Clovis united all the Franks in 508, Paris was nominated as the capital of France. It became the center of political administration, and it was soon one of the most powerful and influential cities in Europe. When the Spanish conquered Mexico in the 16th century, they decided to simply rebuild the new capital on top of the old one. Tenochtitlan had become the capital of the Aztec Empire since 1325. Tenochtitlan had been the capital of the Aztec Empire since 1325. When Hernán Cortés led his army across Mexico to defeat the Aztecs, he and his advisors decided to establish a new capital on its site in 1521. Other capital cities were created from a mix of geographical, political, and economic reasons. In 1010, Vietnam's King Lai Tai-tu decided to make Hanoi the nation's capital, as it remains today. The capital has been in Hoa Lu, which was hard to access via thick jungles and a complicated network of rivers. Hanoi was situated in the Halong Bay, which was deemed ideal for trade and development. Nairobi in Kenya was established as the capital because it ticked every box. It was located high up on the Kenyan plains, making it safe with a pleasant climate. Nairobi was also blessed with clean water supplies, as well as abundant nature reserves, and it was squeezed in between Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, which earned it the nickname of the capital of Africa. Buenos Aires is another capital city that was founded for its geographic and economic potential. Located at the tip of Argentina, Buenos Aires held a great appeal because of its harbor and its close proximity to the Atlantic Ocean and Europe. Even though it was founded in 1580, it didn't become an official capital until 1880, by which time it was already flourishing. The Argentinian capital was proof to many that capitals based on the coast were open to foreign attacks. Several attempts were made to invade Buenos Aires by the British, French, and Portuguese, but the locals repelled them every time. This is naturally a feat the Buenos Aires citizens will always be fiercely proud of. Lisbon is one of the oldest cities in Europe, with a colorful history, including various rulers, invasions, conquests, and changes in power. In 1256, Alfonso III liked what he saw, and he made Lisbon the capital of Portugal. Blessed with an excellent harbor and high walls, it was ideal for trade for strategic reasons. Lisbon began to thrive in the 13th century, and it played an important role in consolidating Portugal as a European superpower. Capital cities are created for any number of reasons. Some of them were built from scratch. Some were a second choice, while others were always destined to be the most important city. Whether founded for geographical convenience, political strategy, or other reasons, capital cities offer us a unique insight into how a country was shaped.